Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Vol Report with Cooper Mays, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com. Cooper, first of all, you get your flowers. Congratulations beating Alabama. Congratulations as being named one of the offensive linemen of the week by the SEC. So how you feeling?
Pretty good, man. If you don't feel good after a win like that, there's not going to be one that you're super excited about. So it's really good.
Yeah, you and it was a game too that was in question late. To be able to pull that out, what does it say about the team chemistry and overall feel of this group?
I would say that I guess it just means that we're competitors that don't really quit until the clock's at 0-0. I don't know. I think we're playing whole games. We're playing complete games as far as fighting till the end. Um, Still a lot of things we got to clean up, but I think the defense has done a great job of being super dominant kind of all year, and it's given us a chance to kind of find our groove a little bit later in the games and kind of get a groove together at the end of it.
Yeah, that I think that's a very good way of putting it. And one person that it felt like found their groove, and I know you like Nico a lot, but just your thoughts on him making some plays. I know how hard he's worked. It's huge to see that pay off, I would imagine.
No doubt. I mean, I think it was a big time game for his confidence. I'm sure he's feeling pretty good after it, and we still got a lot of things that we can clean up and a lot of things that we can get better at, which you can look at that one or two ways, but um, yeah, I think it was a good game for us, and we got plenty of stuff to work on for sure. But you enjoy it while it lasts a little bit.
This is way before your time, but Philip Fulmer used to always say "pound the rock." Have you heard that term before?
I've heard it before.
Okay. Do you feel like this is a team built to pound the rock? In other words, just keep going against guys, and then stuff will tend to open up in the running game later in the contest.
I haven't I haven't thought about it that way, but that is a I like that perspective. I like that a lot. I haven't really heard that perspective, but I guess that rings kind of true.
Yeah, it feels like the more, especially the interior, you guys, you and two guards, it just feels like there's a wearing effect on opposition. Can you feel like when things are starting to go your way and you're opening up bigger and bigger holes for Dylan Sampson?
I don't know if you can feel it in the game. I think that we just got you know the margins and seams and everything are so tight in the SEC. It can always be just a couple inches that stop you from having big runs or that keep you to have small runs. So the margins are super tight for failure and victory in our league, and sometimes some of these runs that fans look at that are 1 yard are just one yard away from being huge runs. And some of these big runs may not be the best blocked runs, but it ended up just happening that way. So I mean, you don't really know when it's gonna happen, but every now and again, one is gonna pop open for a big game with a guy like Dylan and Bishop back there.
I want to ask where this ranks among your best games, and I want to consider the level of opponent, not to knock anybody else you played, but you personally, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And again, the Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. 50 years in East Tennessee when it comes to city heating and air conditioning. Don't trust a fly-by-night HVAC dealer that says you might need a whole new unit. It's not the case oftentimes with city heating and air conditioning. Considering the level of the opponent, which was high, it's still Alabama, even though Nick Saban's not there. And the grade, I saw it came out by Pro Football Focus, where I think, we're in right at 90 or something. Where does this rank among the best games, considering the level opponent that you played as Cooper Mays the center?
Talking about career.
Yeah,
Oh man. I don't really know. I think I probably had a better game last week. I would say
really.
I would say probably my game last week was a more complete game in my opinion. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe not one of my best. I mean, probably one of my best, but not the best. It was decent. It was pretty good.
Okay, so like top quarter percent, but maybe not top
Yeah,
five
sorry.
percent.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, top 5 games maybe of my career. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to have back for sure.
Interesting. What were some of those things? I mean, was it just blocking assignment? Was it calls? What would you like to have back?
Um, I don't know, just not as clean as I would like. I think I gave up a pressure. Um, there's just I don't know, not stuff that you guys would notice, just more like stuff that I see in myself, like footwork, hands, different things. Um, just wasn't what I thought would be my best game or anything, but there's definitely comparison to where I was a couple years ago for sure.
How loud was it during the game? Some Alabama media have tried to say that there may be artificial noise pumped into Neyland Stadium. There's not. How loud was it?
Super loud. I think that's probably like the ultimate compliment that you can have as a fan base and as a stadium. I mean, obviously the stadium isn't thinking about that stuff. It's not thinking about anything. But for an environment in general, um, definitely the best compliment you could get for that. I mean, if people are saying you're pumping in crowd noise, it's obviously alarmingly loud. I mean, if you think something's fake, then that means it's just excellent and great at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how much does that everybody can put in hand signals, they can do all this stuff, and you can have ways to communicate that aren't verbal. But at the end of the day, and I know the fans get quieter when you're on the field, but at the end of the day, when you have that noise, how distracting can it be as an offense?
I mean, it can be super problematic. I think it changed the game truly. Like I played in places where it's really really loud. Not really like Neyland probably on a consistent basis. Never like that consistently. But big time crowds like that when you're on the road, it changes the way you operate. I mean, everybody's gonna right. You're gonna go into the week. Everybody's gonna ask you about stuff. I'm sure if you're another team, you're gonna you give the media answer. You're saying, hey, we got to operate, communicate. It shouldn't really affect us. That's what everybody's going to say, but because that's what you're going to say naturally. But at the end of the day, I mean, if somebody was sitting in here blaring a speaker during our podcast, I mean, it's gonna significantly mess things up. Or if you just went to your cubicle at work and you were working by yourself, you didn't need to talk to anybody. Imagine if somebody just stood over top of you with a speaker and just blared music in your ear all day. You just wouldn't be as productive. You wouldn't be nearly as good at communicating or getting your point across to anybody or anything. So stuff like that really truly affects the game.
No, it's a great point, and I think it can kind of compound it when you get frustrated about it. So maybe it affects one play, but then it seems to creep in your head at some point.
It's just added variables. I mean, I mean, a lot of training. I mean, training in general. If you add in different variables that you don't normally have, it's gonna mess up your routine and it's gonna create a whole nother element to your approach to the situation. So football is no different. I mean, if you have blaring noise every time, it's gonna change your the way you approach things.
Absolutely. Okay, so when you go back and you look at the Alabama tape, again, you see things that I don't see, but the offensive tackle position had been one of concern in previous weeks, partly because of injury and young guys that were coming back from injury. And I'm just curious what you thought of the offensive tackles and how they played against Alabama.
I thought we took steps. Definitely improved stuff, improved performances. talking about the whole O line in general, like still so much stuff we leave out there still at this point, and stuff we got to get better at and clean up on. But I do think there were some steps taken for sure.
So, how close is this offense to its peak, given that there are steps that you're saying you still can take?
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know how to put a number on it or whatever. But
Well, I mean,
just improve.
just in terms of what do you think? How would you describe this offense's potential?
High, high. I mean, I think. I mean, we see it. There's stuff that we're not doing as clean as we should, and there's points left out there. So I don't really know how to quantify it as potential wise, but we're just leaving stuff out there and not being as clean as we need to.
Absolutely. And as far as Dylan Sampson, he's starting to put up some pretty heady numbers. Gene McEver's all-time rushing record in a single season goes back to like the 30s. Are you guys aware of some of those records and some of those numbers that he's on pace to break easily?
I'm not. Is that what rushing touchdowns record
Yeah,
or something?
rushing touchdowns in a season would go back to the 1930s with a guy named Gene McEver. And
Gene
he's
McEver.
Yes, he's that's even before my time, and I'm old. So he's just a couple of touchdowns away from breaking that record that goes back to the 30s.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you liked him from the get go. I remember you saying that. I think before the 2022 season. How has he matured in terms of his leadership ability?
I think he's improved a lot, and just not improved like he needed improvement, just more like grown. Just getting older, finding his voice a little bit, finding his confidence more and more. I think it's been a world of difference for him if you asked him.
Is it more difficult to be a leader? Because I've been around a lot of running backs, a lot of very good running backs, but I've never described one of them as a leader, nor have their teammates. But he seems like a leader. Is it more difficult to be a leader at the running back position?
I'm not really. I'm not sure. Your thought process, I'm not saying is wrong. I don't know if it's much as dependent on the running back as the person, probably more. I mean, really, just it's difficult to be a leader in general. You know.
No, agreed. And I think there's always a thought process with a running back that I want the ball a little bit more. I mean, by nature of it, I wonder if you can be kind of selfish, which Dylan's obviously not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd probably if I was running back, I'd probably be selfish personally.
I would
I mean,
do.
I'd want to run the ball every play. Until I was tired. I probably man, yeah, I didn't think about that part of it. I don't know. That's a good question. I've never trust me. I've never had to worry about anything like that.
Yeah. When you saw him fumble, which is so out of ordinary, what were your thoughts and how he was going to respond?
Oh, I wasn't worried about it. I knew, like I said, I think the whole team kind of has a mentality that we're just going to keep going until it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, I want to get back to real quick with Nico. I was told that after the loss to Arkansas, that he kind of took it personally in a lot of ways, and I just wonder, from a confidence standpoint, how much a win like that, especially with him making plays, helps him moving forward to maybe learn more of the offense, to do more things.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask him. I can't really speak for him, but I'm sure it definitely boosted his confidence. He had a lot of good plays, a lot of defining moments, I guess you could say, like big moments. So I'm sure it did really good things for him.
Absolutely. How much do you think you and the coaching staff have learned about his strengths and weaknesses throughout this season? Now that you've had a half season to play and you've had about three or four good opponents that have really challenged you guys, how much more do you know about his game than you did in August?
I don't know if I mean, I don't know if I know very much. I'm sure if you ask the coaches, they would know a lot more than I would. I don't really. I know he can. I know he can. I know he can throw it.
Yeah, he can.
That's
He
about
can.
it. I don't really. I mean, that's about as far as I go. I don't really know about quarterbacks, man.
He can.
I
Yeah,
just know
he
how to
can.
block people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and keep
About it.
people off. So something you had mentioned before we got started is you said something that sounded like an NFL player, which your age you could be if not for the COVID year and all that. But you talked about how you've learned how to take better care of your body, and you sounded like a Tom Brady in his mid 30s for a second. But what have you learned in terms of keeping Cooper not only available to go, but to go at a high level every week?
I think the biggest thing is consistency. I think like just having a routine and sticking to it would be the biggest thing that I could say has helped me. And then kind of the focus on just blood flow. So whatever you do to get blood flow through your body, that's how you heal your body up. So if that includes stretching, running around when you're sore, hot tubs, cold tubs, whatever it takes to get your blood flow going, get your body moving and keep your body loose and stretched. Um, Consistently, like I said. And sleep, man, I would say.
Yeah,
Sleep
absolutely.
is
And that
sleep is huge.
like it's harder as you get older. That's actually the hardest thing for me of all those things you mentioned. Last thing, I just want to get your thoughts. We had bench off 2024, which there was a challenge for me. How many times could I bench Caleb Calhoun, my co-host body weight? He weighs 155 pounds. You know that I'm 50 years old, so I'm not throwing up 300 like back in the day. How many times do you think I got 155?
155,
It's not a
man.
lot of weight.
I'd say I'd say like 38 times. Maybe 45.
13, and I felt really good
Oh
about it.
wow. Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, Coop, I'm 50, man.
I'm sorry. I was trying to put it in perspective. I couldn't. Yeah.
I mean, you could literally, seriously, could you get that infinity?
That was super overboard on my guesstimate. Don't take that personally. That was now that I'm sitting here actually thinking about it, that was super high. Don't feel bad about yourself. I don't even. Yeah, that's 15-ish is probably the more reasonable.
Yeah, at my age, how many you
Right.
could, that would just literally be infinity for you, right? You could just keep.
Man. In the off season, yes, for sure. Yeah. During the season, man, everything hurts a little bit too much to be going infinity.
Yeah, I felt good about that. And Coop rubs a 38 on me.
Yeah.
The ball, the ball report with Cooper Mays is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters. City Heat and Air. One last thing that I want to ask you is we talked about Dylan Sampson, and he came out and said at one point that he thought the earlier bye week you had that perhaps the offense was a little lackadaisical in their preparation. That got a lot of play. I thought it was impressive that he would stand up and say something like that. How do you make sure that, well, you're kind of shaking your head. Maybe you shouldn't say that, but how do you make sure that this off week is more productive than perhaps the one you had before?
I think the biggest thing is just attention to detail and being super focused and intentional in your work. Something that you can't really turn on or off. Like I said, you got to be consistent and be a pro, about things.
If I would have told you in 2021 that you guys were going to beat Alabama twice in a row at home, that you guys were going to beat Florida and Alabama in 7 days, what would you have said back in 2021?
I would have said in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
I would have said, heck yeah. You know, I saw the light in 2021 for sure. I mean, Hendon, I think in 2021 had like 30 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, didn't he? Something like that.
Yeah,
Something
and
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you knew just with a little bit of with the right stuff happening, the right pieces getting put together.
Wow,
You can get behind a guy like that.
that's strong. That belief like that. And how close say getting behind a guy like Hendon Hooker from a leadership standpoint, how close is Nico to being like that? Or does he even need to be like that as a redshirt freshman?
I would say it's not comparable personally. I mean, that would be like saying to me like 4 years ago if I to compare me to my I mean just this so that's two different people, but just even thinking about me, I was a whole different person 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean I mean when I was 19 years old, I definitely I mean you're not comparable to a 25-year-old man. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
I completely
but
understand.
Nico's great in his own right and a different kind of leader. And I'm sure he'll end up being different. But it's hard to be comparable to somebody that's was like I think Hinda was what 6 years in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a grown man. I mean, most people are married with kids by the age of 25. You know.
No, that's true. That's true. All right, Cooper. I can't thank you enough. Greatly appreciate it. The Ball Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. We'll visit next week and get a preview of Kentucky and the fact that you guys, I mean, if you take care of business, I know that that's my job to speculate, not yours, but you could very well be college football playoff bound and more. He is Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com.